record on this computer. I'm going to do that. Okay, so we are now recording. And
Donna, why don't you stop sharing?
hang
Yeah, we don't need to share.
on. Not at this point.
Can one of you read these questions? Donna, read them.
I want people to see the questions, and then is that how
you go back and forth? Okay.
Well, that's going to be kind of tough.
Because I want to be able to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, they need to see what you're doing.
And I want to see it. Maybe you can attach a document with the questions and just read the questions for the video.
I could do that. Okay. We are answering sound questions asked this week. All right, go live. All right, my dog's going to be barking. This is crazy. All right, I'm going to let her out while you guys are, would you guys take over? All right, everyone, we are here this morning. We're going to make this a weekly feature. You can hear my dog, I apologize. And she's going crazy.
She wants to know also.
So what we're going to do we're going to try to do this every week and answer burning questions of the week, particularly sound questions that we have all the time. So here we go. Our first question, let me introduce our moderators this week. And we have Lori. Hang on. We have Lori and we have Chris, and they are our moderators this week. They are the people in the know. They know how to answer these questions. And so we welcome them. Let me share our screen. Okay, I lost my questions. I guess I won't be sharing. Hang on, I gotta find them. This is gonna be, here we go. Can you see the questions, Lori?
I can see them.
Okay, so what we're going to do, the first question is a syllabication question. The word terrible is used in foundations, level 3, as an example of the exception to the R-controlled syllable. But what is the second syllable considered, assuming that you split it like this? So here's a tip. If you have a foundations question, why don't you go over to the Wilson Facebook page and ask that, because I believe, right, Chris, there's a Wilson page. Okay.
There's also a foundations page, and there's a Wilson Reading Systems page, group as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the share so Lori can answer this question, and you can see her. There you go.
So I have the word set up for you, and the reason this is an R control exception according to the foundations program is that there are 2 R's. Therefore, this E will be short. That was not the answer to that was not the question posed. But here's how you would divide. You always keep the final stable syllable, consonant and LE separate. And this one right here is an open, it's called an open syllable exception. And it either makes the vowel I or a schwa, terrible, terrible. This right here, obviously, you had asked, it's an R control exception. Depending on the dialect, it will either be short, terrible, right, Chris, where you live? But where I live, people pronounce, in Ohio, people pronounce it terrible. So this one is a little bit more murky because of dialect. I think that's it.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, the TR-CHR question. TR-CHR.
Okay, let's say the TRCHR one. Let's say your child spells the word trick. Let me get rid of these properly. But let's say they spell it CHRIK or CK, whatever. The problem is they're not hearing the sounds of the blend. They're co-articulating, which is a common problem actually for younger children. They're not hearing t, k. They're hearing trick. And so what we have to do as teachers is sort of train their brain to hear the t, The other thing we want to do is train them, early readers, to know that this combination, this orthographic combination, is not very common. When children get older, in words like chrome, where the CH has the Greek k sound, you will see it. But for younger children, they're not going to see this combination. Chris, do you have anything you want to add to that?
What I have found is, it's hard with COVID with masks, but what I've found is having children actually look in the mirror and figuring out where their mouth is. And so if you're going to push the air out with the sound is different than if you're the top of your mouth, you're taking your tongue and you're hitting that alveolar ridge.
Yeah, do you see my mouth? Like that versus Good thing I had braces. Okay. I think that solves that problem. More of a articulatory oral problem. Third question.
Okay, number 3, is the H or in the digraph WH silent?
Again, this has to do with dialect. In the United States, WH is pronounced exactly the same as W. Whoa. They're identical. Okay. In countries like Australia, Great Britain, they're pronounced as if the H is first. Like that. Like which one do you want? In the United States, they're identical. I don't know that I would teach that the H is silent. I would just say the WH digraph is w, as in whistle. Christine?
Yeah, that's what we've been seeing too, and other providers come out and say just think of them as the exact same thing. But in certain areas of our country, you will hear people saying the "wha" sound first.
Not very many. I don't know
it's
where.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Yeah, I have a lot of colleagues from the Northwest, and they still say it. I can now that your ear is trained for it, you're like, oh, they really do say that. It's very cool. But when you're teaching words like which and when, and all the question words, you just have to teach the children that might want to use the WH. Right.
Yeah, and they just have to know that it's an option for spelling, for reading. It does not affect reading whatsoever. And then we have those expats.
We're not going to talk about them.
No, I don't. I think fondly of expats. The next question.
All right, number 4. I'm trying to understand open syllables in 2-syllable words. When there is a VCV, how do I explain to a first grader when it's an open syllable or closed when all 3 words below follow the same pattern? I need to know where your chin drops for the syllable, but when kids are decoding, I need to teach them where they would be and why. Here's an example in the picture below. Well, there was wagon, music, pilot.
Right. Well, first of all, many first graders are not aware of open syllables, depending on the program that you are teaching in your scope and sequence. I would say all first graders know about it. They are taught CVCs, they know about a closed syllable. I view the closed syllable as the base 10 of our English language. So you start with the closed syllable, and when you give words like wagon, think about these as the consonants. You're always going to close the first syllable, no matter what the consonant is. Okay. Once kids do learn, or I guess are exposed to words like pilot and music, the reality is that the first syllable will be open. 80% of the time, when you have one consonant between the vowel, you will see this will be a long vowel. 80% of the time. And they try that. 20% of the time, this will be a closed syllable, and then it's short vowel. So kids need to know the flexibility. Excuse me. I'm sorry. That was a noise from my house. Excuse me for a minute. Rich, elsewhere. I'm so sorry, everyone.
It's okay. We're live. That's what happens.
Yeah, we're alive. We're
But you know
alive.
what? Don't worry, because we don't have anyone viewing right now, according to my phone. So
Oh, thanks for sharing.
that's
Okay. So it will be a closed syllable here. Okay. And oftentimes when that happens, this vowel sound will actually be a schwa, like in wagon. So that's just an add-on. I don't know that first graders need to learn about schwa quite yet. Chris?
okay.
That's well, and that's you're trying to teach children and adults, obviously, that you have to be flexible. You know,
Right.
start
Go
with,
both
you
ways.
know,
That's exactly
try
right.
it both ways. Right.
So
you're
most of the
actually-
time it will look like this, but some of the time it will look like this. If it looks like this, the vowel's short. If it splits like this, the vowel's long.
That's a great way to show kids that. And they need to know how to flip their vowel sounds anyway. So
It just depends on where first graders are,
exactly.
where they are in their skill development and the scope and sequence of the program that they're being taught.
Absolutely. Okay, next question is. All right. Any suggestions on the best way to teach IR, UR, ER?
Well, these are our controlled vowel sounds. They make identical sounds, as you know, as most people know. So for reading, it's not really an issue. It becomes an issue, a spelling option for children when they're young. And they will make mistakes, and I think that's fine. With exposure and some explicit teaching, they're going to do better. It's not going to happen overnight. So rule number one is ER is the king. This is the most frequent. You've got ER happens more. ER is also a suffix, like as in farmer or teacher, someone who teaches, someone who farms. So ER is the one that you pick. If you're not sure, you pick ER. These guys, I would say IR is a little more common than UR. However, there's really no hard and fast rule. A good way to do it is allow your children to spell it, to experiment and spell it using the various options, and then they pick the one that they think is right. So which one have they seen before? Have they seen this before? Have they seen this before? Or have they seen this before? And many children will immediately seize onto this because they've seen it before. They should be allowed to look it up in the dictionary or using technology, and in time it should get better. Now, this particular one for kids who are a little older, they probably know that G has two sounds, G and J, and it says J if it's followed by an I or E. Now, this happens to be, a word of Anglo-Saxon origin, so that won't work. But if you have a word like, well, my marker doesn't like me anymore. Let's try a different one. If you have a word like curb, and you know that C has that alternative sound of S after an I and an E, this is the only reasonable choice anyway to maintain that K sound. I think that's it.
That's it.
Chris?
No, that's exactly
Donna?
it.
Perfect. Okay, next one. Okay, help please. How do you orthographically map with the word another?
Oh, well, yeah, that one does not really follow all the sounds. That's what I would call a heart word. Some people call them trick words. Some people call them red words. We have to stop and think. So some people pronounce this as a schwa, another. Some people pronounce it another. So again, this is dialectical. So I'm going to map it this way as if it was the regular sound. This is the one that's not following the rules. Okay? And I'm running out of room, so pretend I'm all on the same page here, the same line. And that looks like I need to get some more dry erase markers, but all right. And then you have but this is the one. And I usually try to teach words that have a similar pattern and pronunciation the same. So I would teach another and other at the same time. Anybody else want to add?
Great. That's great. I think
that's
what happens
exactly.
is because some of you folks are new to this mapping concept, you are looking at the word no. You zeroed in on that word no, and you have to remember this is sound to print, sound to print.
Speech to print.
Yep, speech to print. What am I hearing? How do I map that out? What does that look like in what it really, by what it sounds like?
So if you pronounce this word, or your children where you live, as another, then I probably would put a heart over the A as well. But if
Well,
you
that's
say,
what we do. It's another.
yeah, if you say it another, I'd leave it alone. So that's a dialectical choice. But this
Exactly.
one for sure. And sorry, this is on 2 lines. I should have started smaller. Sorry about that.
I think your markers don't like being held up in the air. I think that's what's going on here. Okay, sounds good.
That's where we are. I'm in the air.
Let's let's go back to the questions. All right. Today I was trying to do phoneme graphing mapping for the word suppose. I broke it up this way. S-U-P-P-O-S-E. Is this right? How do I explain the PP? Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to write not holding my markers up, and it's still not great. So I just need to get new markers. So here's your word, okay? Somebody wanted to know also why 2 Ps. First of all, when you're teaching this to young kids, they won't know that sup is a derivative of the prefix sub, which means under. And this word pose comes from the Latinate ponere, the Latin word ponere, which is pose or position, posit, all those words. So this word is really combining a prefix with a base, a root here. And when you do that, you double. Okay. For younger kids, we're doubling because it makes the U short. That's enough for them to know at this time. When you, what was the question? To map it, graphing it. So you would just do p, so 1 syllable, and then p, o, z. And for those that the question wasn't asked, but why does the S say z in this word? Suppose. Well, we teach when S is between 2 vowels, it often says z. The other job of this E is so that the reader doesn't confuse this with a plural suffix S. So that is also what's happening. So I would have probably split my syllable this way. Suppose. But I don't, when I speak it, I don't say suppose. I just say suppose, and that P is only articulated once, not twice.
Yep.
Anything else?
No,
ladies?
perfect. And that one is pretty decodable too.
It sure is. And you know, I wanted to make sure that pose had to do with posit. So a good source is to look up NTIM online. And that'll give you the derivatives of these words. So you can figure these out for yourself. You know, think about English in many ways as a big Mr. Potato Head doll of pieces and parts put together. So that's what I did, just to make sure to just validate that what I thought I was telling you was correct was indeed correct. And indeed it was.
You know what? We'll put that link on the comments when it comes up on live. Okay.
Sure.
We can
That'd be
do
great.
that.
Well, it's hard to spell NTIM anyway.
Okay, we got 2 more and we're almost out of time. Could anyone please tell me if the phoneme or considered as 1 or 2 sounds?
Well, these are all R-controlled vowels.
Right.
And so the vowel, it's not a long or a short vowel. Most programs would consider these 1 phoneme. Okay. This one happens, but these 2 happen more, I would say, in English. So I've always taught it as just or one phoneme, one tap, even though in reality it's a co-articulated vowel that's neither long nor short. Ladies?
Perfect.
I teach them that way too. It makes sense.
It's easier
children's
for
brains.
the children to
Right.
assimilate into their brains, I feel, and that's
Exactly.
the whole point. Most kids, when they learn these generalizations, I want to say they're not hard and fast rules. We have to be flexible with English. They just say, it makes sense. This makes sense to me.
And kids need to know that these are the options for spelling those sounds.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Okay.
And if you have a good phonics program, that will come out in your instruction. Okay, one more. This one just came in this morning. I'm beginning to learn all the rules, so pardon my lack of knowledge here. No apology needed. Can anyone tell me how to graph the worry in sound boxes? I think it's worry. Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay. So this one I got on one line. Yay, because I wrote it before I started talking. The W is fine. For young children, this would be the heart part. Okay, but if you're not a young learner and you've been taught that after a W, you will be taught that OR actually says So when kids are young, it's considered a non-phonetic high frequency word, but once kids get older, they should really know that this OR after W says like in world, worry, word, etc. Okay, so this is for the young child. Then you've got this other R here. I'm not sure if that's just, I didn't have a chance to prepare this one. I would teach this one actually as a trick or a heart word. And then most kids, young kids won't realize that the Y says E. Older intermediate kids will be introduced that the vowel Y says E in a multisyllabic word by second grade or so, I would say, in most programs. I'm not sure why there's a double R, ladies. So that one might be R control. That might be a heart part too.
Mhm.
You do hear it, but why do we need it twice?
Yeah, we'll have to look up why we need it twice, because I have to admit, I do teach the Y as the E early on if the children are ready. So then I would syllabicate with but
it just depends on your scope and sequence as to which parts of these words are really the hard part. I mean, all of them could be, but this one would be the first one to eliminate. This one I would have to look up. I'm not sure. I didn't have this one in advance. It just came in this morning. And this one's from, that generalization I just told you. It doesn't come up for a goodly while.
Okay.
Probably not the third grade. So that's it for today, right?
That's it for, excuse me, that's it for today. This is wonderful. It's like having these little mini lessons. I love, love, love this. Okay, please, I'm going to survey you folks, members, whether you want it in the morning on Saturday or in the evening on Saturday. So we'll find out. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for all your work and your effort. I'm also going to suggest that if this is of interest to you, if you get good solid training in the science of reading through a good solid phonics program, you're going to understand all the nuances of our language, but you need to learn this. It doesn't come easily. It happens over time. There's a lot of programs out there. Logic of English is one of them that we've been featuring. Foundations is another one. 95% Group has a good phonics program. I'm sure there's others. There's lots of them. And if you take the time to learn all this stuff, you will be a master, or try to, getting closer to be a master of our crazy language, so you can understand it better. So that's all I have. Lori, Chris, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you. And, we don't mind if you end up tuning in live. If we are live, you can just participate, ask to get into the meeting and ask a question. And if we don't know, that's okay. and we'll find out and we can
Mm.
let you know. So this, sometimes we don't know, but you know what Malcolm Gladwell always said, and I don't think he was the first to say it, but he's quoted it, that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. And I bet that at least Donna and I, and probably Chris, we've put in all that time. So you got to give yourself time
You do.
to learn it. As Donna said, it takes a long time. So you just keep practicing, keep, reading, and eventually all these pieces and parts fit together into this beautiful mural that is English.
It's wonderful, isn't it? And once you know, you can't go back. So you know all this and you just keep moving on and becoming an expert in teaching this to your students.
And you can drive your families crazy as well.
Yeah, that's true too.
Absolutely. It's
All
fun,
right, friends.
actually.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
What do you think, Donna?
It was excellent.